a pleasure for us having you with us today. Before getting started, we are going to review some logistics for our webinar today. So all attendees will be placed in listen-only mode until the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If you have a question during the webinar, please feel free to type your question into the chat window. Chat questions will be moderated at the end of the webinar by Arlington's Melissa O'Connor. We will be recording today's presentation and will have it available on our BizLaunch website under resources by the end of this week. If you have additional questions regarding starting a business, please feel free to make a business counseling appointment with us at 703-228-0808 or contact Tara Palacios directly. There is her contact information. And please remember that if you want to follow us on Twitter today, you can use the hashtag BizLaunchChat. And with that, let me introduce our today's presenter for the Start a Business 1.0, Tara Palacios, who is the director of BizLaunch. So Tara launched the initiative in 2002, and since then she has worked with over 30,000 entrepreneurs who have attended BizLaunch workshops, seminars, and one-on-one counseling sessions. Tara has developed key strategic partnerships around the DC metropolitan region in order to help provide the tools and resources for entrepreneurs who, in order for them to succeed. She has seen many small business trends throughout the years, and she really enjoys working in the entrepreneurship field. With that, welcome, Tara.
Thank you so much, Lourdes. I am really looking forward to the presentation today, and thanks everyone for joining us. The window outside is snowy, but it is warm in our hearts to be talking to you about a subject that is near and dear to us. As Lourdes said, you could definitely follow us on Twitter. Lourdes will be utilizing our handle, which is BizLaunchChat. So if you have questions or want to make comments, feel free to do so as we go throughout the presentation. And so today is all about starting a business. And as you see from the image below, a business is well stocked, it's well thought of, it looks great when you see it. And it reminds me of the very simple concept of a lemonade stand. And how do you sell yourself? How do you position yourself? How do you launch? And we'll be going through all of that information during the lunch hour. So you want to be an entrepreneur. You know, you've been doing what you do. You're a subject matter expert. You're with a lot of other people. But you're ready to take that plunge. And you're ready to create an opportunity in your industry, and you want to be apart from the rest. And I say you can do that. There are so many resources that are available to you. You're not in it alone as an entrepreneur. There are people around you that can help you to build your business, and a lot of these resources are free. We here in BizLaunch, we offer one-on-one counseling in both English and in Spanish. We do a number of seminars and webinars throughout the year. We also have access to resources, whether that's business intelligence, marketing intelligence, having someone review your business plan, or help you actually begin the foundation of your business plan, which is very, very important. We also do a number of networking opportunities where you can get out and meet other people, folks that are maybe in your industry sector or support people that are in your industry sector. We feature a number of our businesses on our blog. And something that with this webinar today that I'm going to follow up with, there is a blog up now that talks about how do you accomplish your resolution of starting a business in 2015. If this is your dream, if this is what you do, how do you actually go throughout the year to make sure that you attain it by 2016? We've got some tips on our blog. And we also we'll be doing this year some awards programs where we actually honor the people that are here in our Arlington community. So there's BizLaunch and all the resources that we have to offer, but we also have partners throughout the DC metropolitan area, from federal agencies, state agencies, nonprofit organizations, chamber of commerces, SCORE, which are mentors that can help you, Kiva Zip, which is an amazing program to get seed money. We have a number of partners that will help you to accomplish your goals. So when I'm saying, and this is just a small sample of the people that we work with, so when I say that the sky is the limit and you're not in this alone, I want you to really believe it because it is true. And during today's agenda, I'm going to break it up into 3 compartments. We're going to be talking about the business planning aspect, all the things that you need to do in order to plan for your business. Then we go into the regulatory issues, the regulations that the state, the federal government, and the local government has that you need to make sure as an entrepreneur that you understand. And then we talk about next steps, executing and launching, and what are resources that are available for existing businesses. And one thing that I want to make sure that everybody takes note of is that musical note at the bottom. If you see that musical note on a slide, make sure that you note this. This means that it's important, and that keep that in mind as I'm talking about that slide. Not that any slide is any less than the other one, but just making sure that you note that. So for my next slide, there's a little note on the right side, and it says that free is a good 4-letter word. Yes, free is good. And why is free good? It's because it means that as an entrepreneur, you're not spending any money and being able to execute what it is that you want to do. I call this concept low-hanging fruit. Whatever you do, you don't want to invest a lot of money into it in the beginning. You want it to be able to reap as many benefits from that particular industry, so as you move on to do other initiatives, you have enough cash. So if you cannot spend money on something, definitely do that. That means that's a really good thing. Or low cost. And so your return on investment is that much higher. So remember that as we go through. Now there are some things that money should be spent on. And I would say an excellent attorney, an amazing accountant, and actually a free thing, but building that relationship with your banker in the beginning will save you money. Those are the 3 things that I think you spend money, you spend it well on those things, and you do some background investigation. But otherwise, there are so many resources out there for business owners, and we'll jump into that as we go along. So this is how we're actually dividing this up, and I call this the golden business checklist. If I had to have a checklist into getting started, what are the things that I need to do? If I need to bucket them, how do I do the buckets? My first thing is planning, planning, planning. A lot of people will say that as you're starting your business, you're jumping off, you're leaping off. Well, you're leaping, but it is a well-thought-out, well-defined leap. And we'll get more into that. Then we'll talk about financing. We'll look at your business structure, those requirements that we talked about, certifications that you can get, and then don't forget to execute. So I'm going to go through each of these bulleted items in detail. Planning, planning, planning. I love me some planning because as you plan, you're reducing or minimizing your risk. And you start that with your business plan. You want to make sure that you understand the environment that you're going into. You are what I call a SME, a subject matter expert. You understand your industry like nobody else understands it. You can answer all of the questions. You've done your market research, whether it's primary, whether it's secondary research. You understand what's there. You understand your competition. You understand how your customers get information about you. Do they use social media? Do they use traditional advertising? How do they get their information? And you go after that. And if you need to have monetary or financial assistance or some type of loan, you know exactly what that is. Everything is planned out. It's always best to be on a proactive versus a reactive side. And you do that now in the very beginning as you're launching your business. So the question then becomes, what does the business plan look like? The business plan has many components. First of all, it's feasible. There is a need for what I'm doing out in the marketplace. I'm a physical therapist. I know that there are people that need therapy, and I know that I have an audience. I know there's a certain percentage of the market that's not being served that I want to serve, and so that means that it's feasible. It's identifiable. It's not like Tara saying, you know, I really want to start this restaurant. I've never cooked for other people outside of my family, but I think a lot of people will like to eat my food. Since I've never been a chef before, I've never cooked for a large number of people, and I don't know if many people like my cooking. That's not a feasible idea. So making sure that your idea is feasible, making sure that it's detailed, you know, that you really know. It's just not, I'm going to target everybody. Because to target everybody, you're going to need $1 billion so that you can outreach everyone. No, you want to be as detailed and specific and narrow as possible. You want to have competition. You want to know that there are other people out there doing this. It's a red flag when people come to me and say no one else is doing it. You want to make sure that people are doing it, that they've already spent the marketing research dollars, and that is an executionable type of business. It can be 20 or more pages. It takes an assumption of the market, and it minimizes the risk as you execute. Typically, the business plan is written for yourself first. It gives you the green light to go or a red light to stop. Wait a minute, my numbers are off. I'm running in the red. This doesn't make sense, right? It will also be, if you're leasing space, the landlord will want to see your plan. If you're looking for any kind of financial or looking for investors to invest in your company, it's also written for them. Make sure that you and the people that you surround yourself as your advisors or your vice president or your COO have the management expertise in the field. Because if you're selling yourself in the marketplace, people want to know that you have a background, that you have a history, that you understand the market. If you don't, you can work in that industry sector to get the street cred so that you can go forth and say, yes, I've worked in this industry. I understand this industry. This is what I need to do. Also financials, understanding the money, the ebbs and flow. If you're in a seasonal business, and the summer months is when you make the most of your money, like a food truck type, service type business, then you plan accordingly so that you can sustain throughout the year, and you understand your financials and how those financials work. And in your business plan, you must have a marketing plan. The marketing plan dictates how you communicate to your external and your internal clients, how you do your branding, what your SWOT, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats look like. And so these are your bones, the foundation of your business. This is what establishes you as a business as you move forward. So if there is financial uncertainty, if something happens in the marketplace, your foundation is strong and built with the backing documentation and the homework that you've done. That's not to say that the business plan isn't flexible, because you may have assumptions of the market, you've done your research, but maybe there's been a change. So you want this to kind of be reflective where you can edit and update it at any given time. Now with that said, you may be asking yourself, well, where can I get this market research? Where can I get this data? And I'm here to tell you that we have, and see there's a musical note on the right-hand side of your page, we have within Arlington County, and many jurisdictions have access to this as well, but Arlington Central Library offers a number of free market research databases that you can access simply by using your Arlington County library card. It opens up, it talks about psychographics, demographics, it talks about industry sector, it has the latest market research data. So this is information that you can use to populate your business plan. We also, through BizLaunch, have access to CoStar reports, which will look at a particular area within 1/10 of a mile and let you know what the street traffic is. It will let you know the people that live within that jurisdiction and what they spend money on. We also have access to George Mason School of Public Policy's research library. All you need to do is show identification, and you can access a number of databases for free. A lot of the information, these premium databases that we're talking about, are available for free, but if you weren't part of what we're talking about today, it could cost you thousands of dollars. And this will really set you aside from the rest of the competition. We also have several networking opportunities, and we actually have one that's coming up on January 28th at Haleo's in Crystal City. It's that magical four-letter word of free, and you can come and you can join us and meet like-minded people, businesses that are here in the Arlington County that can either inspire you or help you to launch your business. But we have access to tons of resources. That said, with marketing, and we're looking in depth at marketing, what marketing is it's an apple. You know, it's got the shape, it's got the size, it's got the smell. But with marketing, it's standing out from the rest. It's being a little bit different. It's the same conformity, and you know it when you see it. But what are the differentiators? What makes you stand out from all the other apples that are in the batch? And then it's defining and looking at a variety of different tools that you can use. There are tools that I say that are in your toolkit. And I think you have to begin with the end in mind. And, you know, this will help as a 2015 resolution and making sure that you stay on target. And as you begin your planning, how much are you going to use LinkedIn? How much are you using Twitter, Facebook? Are your customers, are your clients on these social media platforms? Or are they using traditional magazine advertising or print advertising? Are they doing commercials? Are they getting their information of commercials? How many times do I need to advertise for somebody to remember my business? Should I survey my industry sector before I go in, survey my customers, you know, either by walking by or doing a survey monkey? How can I get the information that I need so that I'm creating a product or service that's really going to help my customers? And do I pay for these uses, or do I, you know, budget money, or do I do it using free platforms and free tools? And the key is to strategic marketing is to fully understand how to reach your target market and plan, and then plan. You know, you hear a lot about things going viral and things happening. A lot of times these things that go viral by using social media are actually well-planned events that a marketing and a PR firm have put together. And you find out later, oh, that just didn't happen that way. And you have to think of your business in that way. As you're writing your business plan, you have to be very methodical about what you do, when you do it, how you do it, down to the time of day. And so maybe surveying and looking at some market research tools will benefit. And we actually have on our BizLaunch webinar resource page, which you will receive, we have a market research webinar that we did with libraries where we go over a lot of these opportunities and a lot of these free resources that you can take advantage of. Which also leads me to a listing of websites. I can't begin, of course I have ours at the top, but then the SBA has a wonderful, wonderful website with tutorials, with information on getting started. They'll walk you through the process, walk you through what you need to think about. The local office here for the DC metro area is available there. We're partnered up with SCORE, which are retired folks that had their own businesses, highly successful people that want to give back and mentor and talk to entrepreneurs. They have great resources. Their websites with their business plans and free tools, different portals that you can utilize, talking about research information. The library's access to their sites are available there. And also training. If you're interested in doing any type of government contracting, whether it's on the federal, state, or local level, VAPTAP has a wonderful procurement training that they offer on their website. So here's just a smattering of different resources that you can use as you begin to develop your business plan. And really that first bullet, planning, 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 and then planning some more, will really help minimize your business risk as you move forward. And so I like that adage that money grows on trees. I just like to think about that and to see that image. And the question becomes to finance or not to finance. And a lot of people say, well, I really, I've got enough money and I really don't need to finance the business. I'm just going to do it all on my own. And that to me is a warning sign, because if you look at some of our major corporations, they finance, they seek money when they need it. And so to that I say, yes, finance. Start to build equity, start to build your business so that you separate your personal financing from the business so that the business can stand on its own merit, and that's done over time. And as you can see, there is a little note sign there, and it's something to be thinking about now. What are your financial strengths? What is your purchasing power? Starting to build your accounting systems in place. All of this is extremely important. And it's important to do now when the business isn't earning money. Because as soon as the business starts earning money, you don't have time for that. You don't have time to go to a bank. You just want to be able to go to a bank that you know is going to lend to you. So do all that now while you have that luxury. And there are a variety of different financing options. There's traditional lending, where you go to a bank or another financial institution and you ask for a certain amount of money and they lend it to you at a particular rate. There's SBA, Small Business Administration's guaranteed lending, where they actually will guarantee you to a bank. There's your family and friends, which is what a lot of people use. There's crowdfunding, whether it's Kiva, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, to name a few. And there's also investors, folks that are looking to take some equity of your business and they will lend you money. You can kind of think of Shark Tank. I think they're a good example of a VC that's interested in investing. But they want to know that you're comfortable with that. A lot of times if you're looking to have an investor invest in you, you have to be willing to give up a percentage of your power and control to others. So you want to make sure that you're comfortable with that aspect, and not all entrepreneurs are. There are the 5 C's of credit that you need to be aware of and that you should be thinking of. And the 5 C's, that's how anybody talks, whether you're an investor or others, or if you're family and friends, some of the things that you need to be thinking of. And that's your capacity, capital, collateral, conditions, and character. Capacity, of course, is the most critical. It is your ability to repay the loan. If you're unable to repay the loan, then you won't be able to get the financing for it. They're going to want to make sure that if you fail, that you can still pay the loan. Capital, whether you're going to an investor or going to a bank, they want to make sure that you're investing in it. If you're not investing a certain percentage, why should they? If you're not willing to take a risk, why should they? Typically, a bank will look anywhere at 20 to 40%, depending on how comfortable they feel, of your own personal money that's invested into the venture. Collateral, these are your guarantees, whether it's a collateral, the equity that you have in your home, whether it's stocks or bonds. It could be your car, whatever kind of, you're guaranteeing that if this deal does not go through, you're able to get cash from somewhere to pay it back. Conditions. This is also very important, depending on the financial institution or where you're looking to go to get your financing. They want to know what you're using the loan for. Sometimes restaurateurs, because there's a higher percentage of businesses that fail, some institutions or VCs don't invest in restaurants, but some will. So knowing what you're going to use the loan for and knowing that the agency that you're going to, how comfortable they feel, have they done these types of loans before, whether it's capital improvements, whether it's hiring employees because you've got a great government contract. That is, you want to make sure that you're matching apples to apples with that. Character is the overall impression that you make. Usually you want to be on your A game. You want to know exactly how much you need, when you're going to repay it, what you're going to use it for, and really being comfortable with being able to talk the talk. It can't be, you know, invest in Tara because she's a nice person. It has to be, you know, Tara is starting a IT tech company that's looking to do business with DARPA, and I have my eyes on a $50,000, $80,000 contract, and this is what I need the loan for. So being and really comfortable with your story and what it is that you're talking about. Which this leads us to, as you're considering and you're going through your business structure. You know, are you a sole proprietor? Are you going to be in a partnership, meaning there's going to be more than one person in your endeavor? Are you an LLC or a limited liability company? Or are you planning to incorporate your business, S Corp, C Corp, benefit corporation? This really depends on what your goals are. And when I talk about, you know, begin with the end in mind, like how I like to think about this is 10 years from now, how do you see your business? Have you franchised the business? Do you want to sell the business? Do you want to retire and live off the proceeds of the business? Where do you see yourself in the grand scheme of things? And then from there, you can move backwards and then say, you know what, I'm going to start with the easiest formation. I'm going to start off as a sole proprietor. It's just me. I don't have any partners. It's an easy form. I don't have to do much. I don't have to get an employer identification number, do anything else formal with my structure. Or I know that I'm going to have my family members involved. So I want to do a general partnership. Or I know that I, you know, really want to have a protection where I'm separating myself from the business. So I want to provide that separation, and I want to identify through my state that I am a legal entity. So I want to be an LLC. So then I want to sell shares. The newest form in incorporation is what we call a benefit corporation. The benefit corporation means that there's a portion that goes towards the cause, and then there's your for-profit company. So you're dividing it up into those different areas, but it's under the umbrella of one entity. And we've been working, Lourdes and I have been working with a number of companies now that really are interested in giving back to the community. And so to me, the benefit corporation makes a lot of sense because you're a for-profit and a nonprofit. You can receive more information at the link that I have below, scc.virginia.gov. That's the State Corporation Commission. It's done through our clerk of court. All of the paperwork can be done for free. You can do it online. There are organizations out there that will charge you fees to do it, but I say you can do it very easily by yourself. I think we just had one momentary glitch. I will see if I can restart the program. Okay, I think we are back. I don't know what happened with that, but that's okay. It's just testing me on this snowy day, but I think we're good to go. All right, so looking at the structure, and we see that down below here, I also have that note, which is to chat with your CPA, accountant, and banker when it comes to your different business structure. And why that is because, you know, they're going to want to know how much you gross and how much you're making. And so that could also decide as to how you incorporate, whether it's S Corp, whether it's C Corp, from there. So looking at the federal requirements as we move on to that, you have an employer identification number that you can receive through the IRS. Your EIN number, basically think of it as your Social Security number for the business. If you decide to be a sole proprietor, you don't necessarily need to get the EIN number. However, if you're an LLC or if you decide to incorporate or a general partnership, or if you're hiring employees, you will need the EIN. I also have a link to the IRS website, to the forms, just to make sure that you know, you're eligible. They do it, they're really great. You could just do it online, or you can call or fax in that so you can get your EIN. Also, you want to make sure that if you're doing a commercial or a retail location, as you're doing your build-out, there are federal requirements through the American with Disabilities Act, ADA, so you want to make sure that doors are wide enough, the way the doors open. And so I also have the link here on our presentation, which will take you to some of those federal regulations and requirements that you need to adhere to. In looking at the state requirements, the State Corporation Commission, which we talked about, which is your business structure, you can go through there. You can check on their website as well if anybody else has your name. You could do a search on the state to see if anybody else has registered that name. That'd be one of the main reasons why there's a kickback with that. If your industry sector is regulated by the state, the organization, what we call DPOR, the Virginia Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation, they handle that, whether you're an architect, whether you're doing nails, if you're in the construction industry, all of that information is right on the DPOR website. Now, the Virginia Employment Commission, this is if you need to receive unemployment for your workers, the unemployment, as well as some of the OSHA requirements are available on their website. You can do that right at VEC. And VEC and the Virginia's Workers' Compensation, both of these websites are somewhat linked, so you can start the process and finish with the other one. So the unemployment benefits, if you're hiring workers, if you need additional information, especially when it comes to employment, both of these last two bullets are awesome. On the local side, the VEC works closely with our Arlington Employment Center. So if you're looking to hire employees specifically, you can work with our Arlington Employment Center and they can help you hire qualified workers for positions that you have openings for. Which then we look at some of our local requirements, and I'm going to go into detail with these. If you are working from your home, you can get what we call an occupation permit, a home occupation permit. If you're in an incubator space or a suite space, or if you're leasing commercial space, you would get a certificate of occupancy. You would also need to get your business license. That's done through our Commissioner of Revenue's office, as well as business tangibles and your trade name, as well as if you're doing a food, or if you're doing dealing anything with food, or you need to have a mobile truck, our health department will issue the health license. So these are just overview of some of the local requirements that you'll need to make. Our zoning office has a fabulous website. If you go to building.arlingtonva.us and you click on business owner, it will literally take you through all the steps of getting your occupancy, filling out the forms, going through that process. If you're doing any type of build out, what I love, and their most common questions, you can follow your permit process. So if you have a retail store and you want to know the status of your permits, you submitted them, you can track that here online as well, which I think it's got some really great resources there. Our Commissioner of Revenue handles our business licensing, and so if you go to their website, taxes.arlingtonva.us, it will walk you through. There's a quick link that you'll see on this slide which says new businesses, and it'll walk you through the process of acquiring your business license. They're hoping to have that process online by the end of this year, I believe. But if you contact them or go to the office, they will fill out the paperwork you need in order to have your business license established. Business tangibles, these are the personal property taxes that we have here specific to Arlington on any type of equipment that's used for the business, whether that's if you have camera equipment or if you're using a computer, they'll prorate the cost, and there are taxes associated with items, and that goes into detail in this slide. And also your trade name, that can be done online. This is the exact link that will take you there. You can search locally to make sure that no one has your name, and then you can reserve your trade name for this particular area. Now, if you're not starting your business in Arlington, a lot of these steps are transferable, especially in Virginia. If you're in D.C., they have an awesome website at dc.gov, which will also walk you through these steps. A lot of similarities, but it's unique to the area that you're in. You want to make sure that your local requirements really are what changes. Your federal and your state requirements pretty much, depending on your jurisdiction, that stays the same, but locally there may be taxes and other things that are done differently. And then we move on to our health department. This is where you'll come to get your food license. If you're dealing with food, there is a manager's license that you would need to get. All of those links and the process, if you want to sell to farmers markets and you're a food establishment, that you can find all here. It's all populated. And one thing I do want to make note of, in Arlington, we do have what we call a biz team. And the biz team is an inter-county agency that's made up of folks like myself in economic development, as well as our friends from the health department, the zoning department, the commissioner of revenue. And you can meet directly with us before you launch. And we can tell you, okay, these are your plans. This is what you want to do. And we can walk you through the legal aspects, especially if you're building out space or if you're heavily regulated in some way, so that by the time you present that information, there shouldn't be any delays or any questions about what it is that you want to do. So I encourage you to also to be involved with our biz team. Business certifications, moving on. There are federal certifications as well as state certifications that you could get as a business here in the area. Federally, there are a number. There's the a.k.a., there's a small business certification program, hub zones, and a woman-owned small business program. Now, the a.k.a. program is for people that have been in business for 2 or more years, and it's a federal program. If you're interested in doing business with large businesses like Northrop Grumman or some of these larger corporations, or if you want to do business with Department of Homeland Security, you want to do business with Department of Transportation. You have something that you believe you can sell to the federal government. You're a minority or a disadvantaged business. You can receive the a.k.a. certification to receive access to contracting opportunities. But it's a certification process that can be done online, and that is submitted. The hub zone, and the same is true for small business certification. The Hub Zone Empowerment Contracting Program is based on a jurisdiction, typically a regional jurisdiction, and it's based on the census tract. So if there is a census tract that is designated a historically underutilized business area, then you have access to contracts and opportunities that others do not, that are within the contracting sphere. In Arlington, we do have one. We have a tract. It is commercially designated. The main thing that you have to keep in mind is that 40% of your workers must come from that area. So that's something that there's some qualifications, and if you go to the SBA's website and this link that I've put up here, you'll see all of the certifications and all of the requirements that you have to have. Women-owned small business program, WOSB, that's a self-certification, meaning that you have to go online and you self-certify and you attest. They do a bit of underwriting, but that's also available on the federal side. On the state side, Virginia itself, no matter where you're from, whether you're in Virginia, D.C., or Maryland, you can be a certified small business, certified minority-owned business, and certified woman-owned business. And that's done through our Department of Minority and Business Enterprise. And so it's to encourage small businesses to be able to do business with the state. The state does billions of dollars. A lot of people first think of the federal Fed when doing business, but the state buys goods and services all the time, so you need to keep them in mind. And this is a great certification. It includes a lot of the local municipalities. It includes all of the universities. Universities have needs of goods and services, so if you get your DEMB certification and you go on, you'll be able to get opportunities that aren't available to all of the other businesses that are around. And that leads us to selling your goods and services to the government. I've listed here 3 different opportunities. Arlington County, if you want to register to be a bidder, you can do that right on our purchasing website. You just check off all of your capabilities, all of the things that you're able to do, and as opportunities arise, they will email them to you. If you're not in our system, you won't be able to bid. Once the bid goes out on the street, it's out there. So I encourage, if you believe, even if it's a small amount, it's like you're marketing yourself to the government and you say, hey, this is what I have. I'd also encourage you, no matter if it's local, state, or federal, I encourage you to build relationships with agencies that you believe would be able to buy your goods or services. Why? Because even though we're on the computer a lot, it's still about relationship building. And I may not know who you are until I meet you and what your capabilities are. And I'm building trust with you because of that relationship. And take a note, there is a musical note on this slide because I think these are opportunities for businesses in a variety of sectors. So Virginia e-portal, how they buy their goods and services is on EVA. Arlington is separate from EVA, so you need to register for Arlington if you're interested. That's free. You can also register for what we call EVA, and that's the state portal. That's where Virginia Department of Transportation, all of the universities, our Health and Human Services, all of our organizations go through the state through EVA. And if you have your DEMB certification, you would put that information in when you register. The federal government, I really recommend everybody, because you don't know what you don't know, but registering for SAM. SAM is the government portal that is all the agencies must use in order to advertise opportunities. So if you're registered in SAM, that's the first place people are going to ask if you go and you meet with somebody in the agriculture department. They just say, well, are you registered in SAM? So you want to kind of go ahead and do that. FedBiz Ops is the clearinghouse of all opportunities. You can go in there and take a look. You can search and see the types of money that's being spent in your industry sector. Some things that I've heard from a lot of very successful contractors is if you see it being advertised, more than likely the agencies already know who's going to be awarded those opportunities. So keep that in mind. Make sure that if you're marketing to the government that you do that and that you're going to the key decision makers that are in charge of these contracts. Okay, so I alluded to hiring that excellent lawyer, CPA. Here's a couple of links that we have. They will save you money in the long run. This is where I'd invest my money. I would get a lawyer, an accountant on retainer. I've had that tidbit from a lot of business owners that we've worked with. Just because if you have somebody on retainer, they respond much more quicker than if you're paying by the hour, because it means that you're committed to that attorney or to that accountant. And so here's some resources and links. And you also want to do it so that it's apples to apples, that you're working with a lawyer who understands your field. I actually had a business owner years ago who hired an attorney to do her contracting, and the attorney had never contracted before, but was charging her $500 an hour for that. So no, go with the attorney. If you're into contracting, go into an attorney that has the street credibility, the background, the history, and understands the ins and outs, so that they can assist you with what you need. I really encourage you. And so thankfully for us, the next slide is to execute. Don't forget to take that leap. Don't forget to fly off into the ethers and take that jump and to start your business. You know, I have the paper plane, you know, because I just love the imagery, but really, you want to be more like that. I think when you launch, you want to do it with all the fanfare, with all the sounds, with all the imagery, but it's well thought out. You know, you're just not going to launch on any day. It's got to be a beautiful crystal day. It's got to have the wind and the sky. It can't be snowing outside like it is. It's got to be great. So I want to definitely leave you, and of course I put a couple of musical notes up here, but I want to leave you with some of my tips. And I think I've emphasized this. The planning is fundamental. It's very important. Please do not skip that. I mean, I know it's easy. In the United States, I work with businesses actually from around the world. I did a lot of training for a lot of Russian as well as former Soviet countries. And one of the things that they always were amazed at was how easy it is in the United States to start a business. It's very easy. You could just cut on the lights, turn on the lights at any time. But the real key is planning. Create a business from a successful existing market. Yay, competition. Don't forget, competition is good. It's making that competition so that you can get some of that market share. Make sure to ask for money when you need it. Money, money, money. Yeah, I think of that song. Money. Location, location, location. You want to be in a place that your customers can easily reach you, that they can access you. You know, if you're in a harder to reach location, especially if you have a storefront, you will have to spend that much more money in marketing. And remember what I talked about earlier about low-hanging fruit and not spending a lot of money on things when you don't have to. Making sure that in the beginning, you and your business are one. The goal is to separate you from your business, but everybody's going to look at you to back that business. So your credit practices will also be looked at, and the credit practices of the business will be looked at. Hire a fabulous team. Surround yourself by positive, fabulous people. Very, very important. Keep records and make sure that you understand what your fabulous team is doing. And why I say that is because at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, you're the one that's taking the risk. You can't then point at your attorney and say, well, they told me this. No. You're the business. You're the company. You're being sued. So you want to make sure, or if there's some kind of discrepancy with your profit and loss, you want to know what's going on and why. Don't leave it all to your fabulous team. You want to know enough to know what's right and what's wrong. Also ask for help. You are not an island. You are not by yourself. We are here. Do not isolate yourself, and network strategically. And by network strategically, I mean don't go to people who aren't returning your phone calls. Don't talk to people who don't respond or promise things that they can't deliver. Go with influencers within your industry sector, the people that everybody's buzzing about. You'd be surprised the willingness of people wanting to be able to help others succeed because they have. Create an advisory group, a mentor group, a group of influencers that can help you take your company to the next level. What is the worst thing that they could say to you? They may not respond or they say no. Then it's on to the next one. You know, you don't have time for that. You just keep on moving, but at least you can say you asked. Also brag. Don't forget to brag about yourself. Entrepreneurship isn't about modesty. If you do something and you do it very well, let other people know because it's spontaneous. You know, there's a fine line. Like you don't want to be obnoxious, but you do need to kind of tout your expertise and what it is that you do. Use social media if your clients are. I can't begin to say use it, use it, use it. Visit us in BizLaunch as many times as you need. We will help you as much. and then repeat continually. You know, make sure that these tips from top to bottom, make sure that we repeat and do these at all times. And I love this Aristotle phrase, we are what we repeatedly do. So if you're practicing these best practices over and over again, it becomes real, it becomes true, it becomes you, it becomes your fabric of yourself and who you are. That said, this is who we are. We are here. There is our contact information. Like I said, we don't go away. And we're a group of happy people. So feel free to outreach to us. And we're looking forward to helping you launch and to helping you succeed. As Lourdes said earlier, you know, I've seen over 30,000 people come through our doors, whether it's a webinar here today, whether it's a networking event, conference, and it's quite a pleasure to see somebody take their dream and make it a reality. And it can happen if you do that due diligence. So with that, Melissa, I'm going to open it up to the Q&A.
Great. We have a few questions people have asked, and feel free to ask more if you have any. But our first question is, will you please address the permitting and inspection requirements for people who are interested in at-home baking or confectionery businesses?
Okay. Great question. In Arlington County, you're not allowed to bake from the home, unfortunately. The regulations do not permit that. That isn't to say in other jurisdictions, Fairfax does, Fairfax County allows you to. I don't think D.C. allows you to bake from home. So you really have to know locally what those regulations are. In the case of Fairfax, you would go through a state agency that will actually come out. You'd outreach to them, and I actually have a link that I can share when we send the materials. You outreach to them, they come and inspect and make sure that, you know, everything's up to code, that the temperatures, everything is adequate, and that's meeting all of the regulations. You would apply for that license, and you would get your business license and get everything else. So there is a state arm that the Fairfax County uses to actually regulate the home-based businesses. What we do in Arlington, since there is a regulation that doesn't allow you to cook from the home, there are a number of commercial churches as well as restaurants that already have their commercial licenses that are able to extend that opportunity to you as well. Typically, it's during their hours of operation when they're not in use, so that there's not any kind of traffic issues or things of that nature. You would fill out the health department form for operating a food business. They would make sure that you have your food manager's license and that you understand the temperatures and that, you know, things that need to be sealed are sealed, if you need to have a hutch that you're using. So, and that's also part of the biz team, and we can work with you and working with the health department to make sure that you're meeting those regulations.
Great, thank you. The next question is, if I hire a person part-time, what are my responsibilities for Social Security, etc.?
Okay. The biggest question that the IRS has in regards to hiring an employee is if that employee is contractor or are they actually an employee. So for part-time work, there's not as much regulations around it, but they're depending on how many hours may also preclude how many people can be in your home office at any given time. So say, for example, I'm operating a business and I need to hire a part-time person that's coming in 10 hours a day. With Arlington County, that's, you know, from a zoning standpoint, that is permissible. We can both be in the home working in our home office. Insofar as the regulations, I don't think that from this aspect, as my memory serves me right, I don't have to provide a certain amount of benefits. But that is something that can be answered through the Virginia Employment Commission, through VEC, because I think it's really specific as to how many hours, where the person is going to be working, will then kick in as to the types of benefits that you'll need to give. So I can also talk offline with the person to kind of get more information so that I can make sure that I'm giving them the right answer.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, how does the guarantee funding that you mentioned work?
Oh, with the Small Business Administration. How that typically will work is you will still work with a financial institution or a bank. So say, for instance, in this area, M&T is the #1 SBA lender. So I would work with SBA. And I would work with the bank, and I would talk with them, and they would say, you know, we would really feel comfortable, you know, with doing an SBA guaranteed loan. So you would still provide the bank with all of the documentation and information that you need in order to get the loan, and then they would do the underwriting, and they would send the paperwork to SBA. SBA, the federal government, then puts a stamp on it and releases the funding, the guarantee to the bank. So really you're still working with a financial institution that has a relationship with SBA, and they would handle everything. Sometimes the banks, you know, from what I understand, they really want to kind of assess and know what it is, what your goals are, how much you want, what the terms are. They really want to base it on your needs. And so once they get all of that information, then they could say, well, you know what, the SBA guarantee is the way to go. Because sometimes it might be cheaper for you if they're offering a deal on the rates, if they're able to give you a better rate and not have as many points. So it's really done on a case-by-case basis. And I guess I should say, too, really that's why I think it's really, really important to establish that relationship in the beginning, because a lot of times banks, if they don't know you, it is the trust factor. So you want to start establishing that right away, and that they know, so when you need them and you call upon them, they're willing to lend to you. I think that's really, really important. A lot of times people say, well, I don't need them. But there is going to be an opportunity in the life cycle of your business that you'll need to get traditional financing. Whether it's a credit card, whether it's a, a line of credit, you know, I would definitely recommend establishing those relationships immediately. And if you're doing food, definitely give them your food so they can see what you're talking about. See and taste.
Okay, great. And it looks like we have time for maybe one last question.
Yes.
And Sarah asks, when referring to what you kind of said about feasibility in a business plan, what if she wanted to start a business in cooking, but she hasn't cooked for the public before? Would you recommend not starting a business if you have a desire to learn but don't necessarily have the prior experience?
Yes. I think it's learned experience. There are what we call guinea pigs, meaning your friends and your family that you can do tastings with and that you can test your product with before you go to launch. There is an ability to test the market before you jump in. And then that way it minimizes the risk. I've worked with several restaurants and food people where they use us as the guinea pigs. You know, they'll bring different samples and they're like, be really honest, you know, do you like it? And, you know, you kind of, some of the food wasn't so good, so they'd go back and work on the recipe and come back for another meeting. So I would use those resources because the only way that you'll know for sure is if you do testing in the beginning. And do like a little survey group, do a focus group, bring friends and family over and tell them to be brutally honest. Because then what you're doing is in an area where you need to get that feedback from your customer base, and the only way that you're going to do it is if you try. So I do highly encourage that. I worked with a coffee proprietor, actually started their business in Rome, very successful, but I told them when they moved here to the United States, I said, well, you need to test the U.S. market. The U.S. market is different. So they actually started working for a family-run coffee house, and they ended up buying that coffee house, but they really cherished that opportunity to get in because the market was different. You know, Italians buy coffee different than Americans. So something to keep in mind as you're going through and testing the feasibility of your business. And I think that's all we have time for. I really, really appreciate everybody taking their time out and encourage you to get in touch with us, set up an appointment. We'd love to see you, would love to help you make your 2015 dream a reality of launching your business. And look forward to seeing you at the next BizLaunch event. Have a fabulous day.